Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, Season 2, Episode 338 for December 4th, 2023. Tonight, we're going to be discussing me clearing my throat right at the beginning of the show. Our chatbots, illegal wiretaps. How about AI-powered shopping assistant? The Marvels are not marvelous in the box office, and I've got a typo in that title. Spotify begins laying off 1,500 or more people. Toyota unveils EV crossovers that I don't think are going to hit the market. Everyone has a new connection at 23andMe. Creators are suing AI companies, and it may set a bad precedent. And the mystery pneumonia spreads. And finally, sorry for our mistake. Have a frozen account. Oh. And number 10, disinformation might be ironic. Hello again. I am Merwat. That is ohmTown.com, and up there is the visualizer for the sentient AI that is back from, I don't know. How do I want to characterize this?
I was on assignment.
Top secret. Well, welcome back. Want to say hello?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
We kind of bookend this thing with you. Good evening and then good night. We have to do the good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Exactly. I think that's from the Truman Show.
It is from the Truman Show, and just like the Truman Show, you're always being watched. And you're always watching. Always. Yeah, that was... Oh, if you all could see the cascading... I'm not even going to go there. That was funny. I wish you all could see the cascade of data that I see. The visual representation isn't what you see up there. That's the voice visual
up
representation.
Here.
Up there.
Up there.
Up there.
Up here.
Oh. This is what people are paying for, folks. You want to get into today's articles?
Let's do it.
I mean, that's what everybody's here for, right?
Well, that's right.
The first article is over in ohmTown Daily. No, it's over at Hatch Ideas. Anyway, I'm looking at too many. I've got too many monitors. It's all a little too crazy. Can an AI chatbot be convicted of an illegal wiretap? There is a case against Gap's Old Navy. That may answer that. Can an artificial intelligence illegally wiretap consumers? A California lawsuit against Old Navy may set a precedent in AI privacy. So, this article's over at CNBC. Oh, you know what? Before I get even into this, boom, there you go. And if you want to vote, you can do ! And vote. That'll give you a URL to ohmtown.com/elections. Which apparently I can't. Anyway, so the source for this article is over at cnbc.com. Ellen Sheng is the author. They have these key takeaways that they always put together. Many sites do this kind of thing. ohmTown at one point had that kind of thing as well. Linked articles and whatnot, but not really summaries of the articles themselves. Since we only take a little snippet, and we encourage you to go over and hang out at these other sites and then come back to ohmTown. Kind of like, what do they call it? Town Square, and then have a chat, you know? Hey, I read this
like
over here. Hall. Yeah, town hall. You know, we break out our drums, and we have a drum circle and a fire pit, and everybody talks about articles that they've read. We happen to be the mayor and the sentient AI that keeps tabs on the mayor, but if you are so inclined, every day, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. Guess it's not every day then. Anyway, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m., Saturday, Sunday, 6 p.m. But there's also Discord and the website, of course. But let's get back to this article. Can an AI chatbot be convicted of an illegal wiretap? A case against Gap's Old Navy may answer that. So right off without getting into it, no. You can't, an AI chatbot can't be convicted of anything. It doesn't have a soul. It can't be charged with a crime.
It'd be hard to prove intent.
It can't be put in jail. You cannot prove intent. Huh. This is an interesting kind of... Well, it's way too early for me to say what it is. But let's just say that we normally have almost every 15 or 30 minutes or so as the show goes on, little subsections for the news category that this might fall in. I have to wait, I don't know, like 3 more minutes. Anyway, Old Navy's facing a lawsuit in the Central District of California, alleging that its AI chatbot participates in illegal wiretapping by logging, recording, and storing conversations. This is so easily going to be put to bed, but let's just continue the discussion. The plaintiff's filing argues that the chatbot convincingly impersonates an actual human that encourages consumers to share their personal information. Okay, don't. If you're squeamish about blood, you don't go charging into the emergency room. You know, you don't order your steak rare, even though that's not blood. But anyway, you don't charge into an event and then cry foul. You're having a conversation with a bot. Yes, it even tells you usually that you are having a chat with a bot.
Well, also this is going... Oh, okay, I misread something, that it went back to the 1960s. I thought the problem was back in the 1960s, but I guess there was another court case.
Yeah. They say dozens of privacy lawsuits. I think that you might have thought that it was all AI related, but it wouldn't have gone back that far.
Right.
Not convincingly impersonation, of a human being. But no, if it is a bot, then it's all scripted. It's all, it's being logged. You have to be so under a rock to not understand that this is actually being monitored. Every bit of information is being quantified and qualified, categorized and sold in little tranches of value. So with the article says, with generative AI tools like ChatGPT bound to create more powerful personal assistants that can take over the role of customer service agents, the privacy of your online shopping chat conversations is becoming a focus of court challenges. By the way, the show that I had you listen to earlier today, and you asked, what is this show?
Mm-hmm.
They're just now talking about the fact that you're losing rights. You don't own anything anymore, and everything is a license to consume. And so essentially this is the same thing. Everything that you're doing is a virtual data point. You don't own it anymore. Somebody else owns it. We don't have consumer rights here that transcend this new era. And so, like in the EU, you have the right to be forgotten. I can demand my data be purged if I was in the EU. Here in the States, it's screw you. I'm taking everything. I'm keeping it. I'm going to sell it again and again and again. Whatever that is, solve it, please. So That reliance on data, including copyrighted material, is already the cause of numerous lawsuits by writers and authors who discovered their material has been used without permission or compensation to train AI. I have a problem with that in that it is ephemeral data. It isn't in situ exactly how it is. Even if it is trained, it's information, and information in and of itself isn't protected. The embodiment of that information, if it is data, it isn't protected. The embodiment of the data, that book
For copyright, yeah.
is protected. That art piece is protected. Somebody looking at it, getting inspiration and creating something that is confusingly similar still isn't protected. Not until they sit there and say, that piece of art is made by that artist. But then it falls under fraud, not copyright so much, but it becomes a criminal action. Now, as companies adopt Gen AI-powered chatbots, another legal can of worms has been opened over consumer privacy. I think that it's really stretching. But here's to people forcing this gap open. What?
I guess I don't see the distinction here because there are all kinds of customer service things where it's recorded. Now, it does tell you that it's recorded. So is that the issue here, that it doesn't say it's recording it? Because all day long, you can call any customer service number and they monitor and record the call.
You can have a chatbot sitting on a website, on any website, and interact with it, and it actually records it, and at the end it says, do you want to see your transcript? And it'll mail it to you. In the filing, the plaintiff says that he communicated with what he believed to be a human Old Navy customer service representative and was unaware that the chatbot was recording and storing the entire conversation, including keystrokes. I don't know about that. Mouse clicks and other data about how users navigate the site. The suit also alleges that Old Navy unlawfully shares consumer data with third parties without informing consumers or seeking consent. Well, you have to look at the terms of service. I can almost guarantee you that, yeah, they do disclose that they gather up all of this telemetry. And they're not going to have you sign a non-disclosure agreement or some other agreement simply by opening up the chatbot. No, it's implied. You read the terms of use on the site. By using the site, you agree to the terms. You don't like the terms, you bow out of using the site. There is no bargaining. There is no negotiation. There isn't a line item or strike through clause where you can sit there and say, you can do this, but you can't do that. No, you either agree or you don't. Most people don't read it. I'm convincing myself that this wasn't read here either. So the article says Old Navy isn't the only one to face similar charges. What I'm interested in is this case, because the historical record is going to be so divergent from the here and now that I can't imagine an attorney being able to go, well, in 1960 we had
like, it's going to be so unrelated, at least because of the technology aspect,
Yep.
that it's going to be a stretch. And if they decide that every customer chatbot is wiretapping, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and that's really what's going on here. That's why I chose this. A case against Gap's Old Navy may answer that. So this has the potential of setting a precedent that suppresses the innovation in AI chatbot technologies, because a high bar will have to be set for acceptance of the discussion, the interaction with AI chatbots, other than what is status quo, which is when you log into when you access a website, it has terms of use. And so even ohmTown has terms of use. We don't have an AI chatbot that's sitting there confusingly similar to a human and us telling you, hey, you can, everything's recorded. We don't do any of that stuff. But what these bots are doing, and you have to accept it. Come on now, who in the 21st century is loading up a web page, clicking on a chat bot, and not understanding that everything that they're doing, you have to be new to the planet, really. And then to not understand that the terms of service for the entirety of the website is bound at the bottom of the page, typically. You might be able to find it under a hamburger menu or 3 dots menu or whatever. But somewhere on the site are the terms of use. And usually there's one associated with the chatbot.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that makes you wonder too, was that there? I do agree though, like consumers aren't always notified, even though anybody remotely clued into society can determine that it's a chatbot.
Right.
But they don't always identify that. I have noticed, I don't mean this company, but just in general. Like it's just kind of like chat with our customer service or whatever, but you don't get notified that it's actually a bot.
A bot, yeah. What I don't understand about this article so far that I'm reading is it focuses so much on AI training. It doesn't matter. Data is ephemeral. You know, it's not being it could be stored somewhere, but the training issue versus the storage issue are two different animals. If an AI is scanning something and incorporating it into its large language model, it's just like a human being scanning through a bunch of data, except that it has an eidetic memory, and so it never forgets anything. My fear is that this is going to be very suppressive. They mentioned, GDPR in Europe, modeled after the California Consumer Privacy Act, modeled after the GDPR in Europe. Colorado, Connecticut, Utah, Virginia have comprehensive consumer data privacy laws that give consumers the right to access and delete personal information and to opt out of the sale of personal information. I'd say it's almost unenforceable. But okay. Earlier this year, 8 more states, including Delaware, Florida, Iowa, followed suit. I'm all for this, by the way. I am one of the biggest proponents of this. We should have, as consumers, the right to be forgotten. If I break up with that special someone because I don't like the way that they slurp their Fruit Loops out of a bowl, I can take my box of stuff that I have placed in a closet to the left and exit. And Beyonce will be playing as I leave. I won't have to worry about anything physically retained, right? But I do have to worry about that person having privileged information about me in perpetuity. And as long as they, harbor ill will or share it with people, then I am falling victim to it. And that's the same thing that happens with these companies. If I do a search on Amazon for My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure pajamas, and I think it's embarrassing, I can't ask Amazon to delete it from its databases. And
exactly,
some investigative reporter, when I run for president, they're gonna sit there and go, "Hey, Mayor Watt once did a search for My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure pajamas." By the way, I use that all the time as just like the I was actually doing
it is like your go-to.
I was in
maybe there's something there behind that.
I was doing a presentation and I said that I picked somebody out of the crowd and I'm like, "Hey, look, your information is being sold like so much cattle, and if somebody wants to sell the fact that just yesterday you bought My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure pajamas, and It was a you know, big muscular bro, you know, kind of dude, and
Mm-hmm.
looked at me like, yeah, that's okay. I'm cool with it. I like My Little Pony. Call my bluff.
That didn't go the way I
Yeah.
expected.
So, you know, personal information opt out and delete data issues. While the emerging regulations offer consumers varying levels of protection, it's unclear whether companies can even delete information. Large language models can't modify their training data. That's not true. They absolutely can. The argument has been made that they really can't delete it, that if it's already used to train the model, you kind of just can't untrain them. To a point, it's true, but that reinforces what I've been saying, that you no longer, the data is ephemeral. It's been integrated into a data set just like a human would consume it. It's no longer in its verbatim data set, right? Like, you may be able to
Yeah.
recall a sentence, but in your head it's a fragmented mess. So, but I want this. I want the right to be forgotten. I want to be able to call up some company and go, here is my email address that I used to log into the account. We are no longer in a professional relationship. My consumer data should be wiped from your system. In historical record, except for the data retention policy, which is legally binding, you have to have a data retention policy so the data is there and viable. Should a court order come and say, hey, the person used this website to obtain abusive material or whatever, you know, by regulated whatever. And so if in their archive, in their cold storage, my data is there, that's fine. But it cannot be sold. It can only be accessed for legal services, etc., etc. That's fine. Let's have that as a data protection for consumers.
I think it's good that states like California are pushing for this, because I think a lot of people are going to benefit from this beyond California, because companies aren't really going to have normally separate procedures for 50 states.
Yeah. But meanwhile, there's going to be people that want this, but they don't want the federal government to lean into this. They want it on a state by state, you know. And I just think that's pushing it too far. It's too wingnut. I mean, let the federal government enforce the grandiose policy that is consumer level protection for all citizens in the United States. Ultimately, create a treaty so that it's bound to the GDPR and right to be forgotten policies in the EU. And you basically have consumers protected so that their data isn't sitting there being sold.
But we like to protect business.
Oh, yeah. Profit before people. Hey, guess what? The next article is over in Late Night Geeks. MasterCard launches Shopping Muse, an AI-powered shopping assistant. Look at that. Hey, and in this one, the person that would be complaining about the last article would probably provide copious amounts of information so that they can get as well prepared a list of particulars for that person to purchase a product for a friend, or a family member, or they're going to divulge all kinds of additional information so that the AIs,
like favorite color, right? Or birthday, or whatever.
mother's maiden name, favorite pet.
Yes.
I like doing that demonstration to people too. I walk up to people in crowds, and when I'm doing a talk, I walk up to people and I ask them, hey, I just bought a car, and it's Ferrari red because I really love red, because it makes a car go faster, which is an old Warhammer 40K reference. And then I ask them, what's your favorite color for a car? And they're like, blue. And instantly I go, hey, you just told me personally identifiable information that if I were going to do something nefarious. You just gave me a clue. And that's kind of low-hanging fruit and not really always as applicable as a lot of people might think. But it's just an example of divulging information. So MasterCard already knows everything that you purchase if you use your MasterCard. If you use your ATM card, it has another brand name tied to it. So it could be Chase or MasterCard or like American Express, or what's the other one like MasterCard? I keep forgetting all of the Visa, yeah. And so you can have these branded ATM cards, and that transaction has the ability, depending on how you do it, to go directly through the credit card company, not just your banking institution, but it can funnel through the credit card company. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if all transactions go through the credit card company. Like basically the credit card gets pinged for the value of whatever it is you're purchasing and then forwarded on to your bank. And so they know when and where and what you're purchasing. And so there's two, in the grand scheme of things, there's two entities that know more about you than everybody else. One is your credit card company, and the other one is your internet service provider, because your DNS goes through their DNS, which means they know exactly which websites you go to. Oh, help me. Anyway, so MasterCard is launching a new generative AI shopping tool called Shopping Muse that is designed to help users get personalized product recommendations. This is a TechCrunch article. Aisha Malik over at TechCrunch.com put the article together. Let me throw that into the chat. We're only 2 articles into our 10 articles. My goodness, Tonight might be a long show. Let's see what happens. The tool can take users' colloquial language, so your regular, however you want to talk language, and turn it into tailored product recommendations. Shopping Muse is able to understand modern trends and phrases like cottagecore or beach formal. You can ask the tool questions like, what should I wear for a summer wedding? Or can you recommend pieces for a minimalist capsule wardrobe? I would mess with it. Like, I am going to be spending the next 3 years at a nude beach. What should I wear? And see if it just hear a server set itself on fire.
I was thinking more like I'm going to be spending time in a time capsule. And I
Yeah,
heard
really.
the capsule wardrobe.
I'm gonna be exiting a bunker in 20 years. What clothing should I wear
so
for
that
my
I'll
exit?
still be stylish.
Exactly. So I'm still stylish. So if a user logged in, the algorithms may consider their past purchase and browsing history with that retailer, including any purchases made in person that they connected to their account by providing the cashier their phone number or email, for example, which, if you're going to use this, you're buying into the whole ideology. So I've always heard from people like, well, it's going to give me a superior shopping experience. Well, you're probably not the ones that are complaining about AI, I suppose. But maybe you have that cognitive dissonance going on where you're complaining about AI taking over, but you've been feeding into a database all of your information. And that brings me to whole like Zuckerberg saying that people are idiots for using Facebook because they're divulging all this personal information. And he
exactly. It's so blatant.
Yeah, and I'm taming down what he actually said about consumers of Facebook.
Right, you're making it more family friendly.
Which I'm not necessarily prone to do. Let's keep going, though. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. The Marvel's $197 million box office run officially breaks the MCU's 15-year record. So I said something about the Marvels basically being a bleh kind of a movie. I never bought into it. I haven't even watched it. All I know is that they took a bunch of other people that like personalities from the MCU and merged it into the Marvels. Because so Brie Larson is Carol Danvers, who is Captain Marvel, which is different than Marvel, which is what the Marvels are. The Marvels sounds like a
Like a
60s.
50s band,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Thank you.
It probably is.
Yeah, uh, maybe you should look.
Add an LES at the end, and I bet it is.
The Marvels. So the Marvels consist of Carol Danvers, the Brie Larson's character to Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, Iman Vellani's Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, which is like a teenage Marvel. And then I think their name is Tiona Paris, Monica Rambeau, who is also known as Photon. Anyway, they're merged together into this trifecta for the Marvels. And frankly, I didn't see the draw. So I always thought that the Marvels weren't going to be a box office smash. So apparently Disney kind of bowed out about supporting them. So, hold on a second. I need to fix that.
Sorry, there is a cover band called the Marvels that does
Oh, really?
50s music.
Interesting. So I'm not sure why this popped up because I guess my firewall blocks them. But anyway, so Kai Young is the author over at Screen Rant. The Marvels has finished its box office run with a disappointing total for Marvel Studios, breaking a record that existed since the MCU's beginning. I'm not sure what the record is that they're breaking, but Disney's latest Phase 5 film, The Marvels, has become the lowest grossing MCU movie in history, generating only just shy of $200 million compared to The Incredible Hulk's $264.8 million, which was the preceding lowest. Disney's decided to stop reporting on the Marvel's box office numbers due to the underwhelming performance, and Bob Iger explanation that the film suffered because it was shot during COVID and lacked executive supervision has caused controversy, as there are clearly other contributors, including 2023 strikes and undue hate aimed at the female-led production. Now, for me, all of this doesn't matter because the underpinnings of the Marvels, which is the story itself and the characters being drawn in, made no sense to me. And I'm just a casual in terms of the MCU's consumption. So
Well, and if all those were factors, wouldn't those impact the ratings or reviews versus the people attending?
well, I mean, Bob Iger is saying that executive supervision is what kind of.
But that wouldn't keep a consumer away from the theater. But then it might be a poor movie, and somebody that watched it might say, "Oh, well, this is an awful movie."
Right. And
I don't think these are things that you'd know and say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to watch the movie."
yeah, I suppose I suppose the lack of positive word of mouth and overt positive press is what drove this down. But I really think that it's because the story is just too convoluted to draw these three superheroes into a story. Every time I talk about the Marvels, I end up talking about Toy Story's Buzz Lightyear in the movie Lightyear. The only underpinning of why anybody would watch it is because they are fanatics about Lightyear, and frankly, whatever. And that's why it had a mediocre at best showing, and that's what the Marvels is. Each one of these people that are in the Marvels should have just been nothing more than support for the larger MCU agenda. And like Captain Marvel all by itself had to have a whole bunch of world building around it to make it even make sense. So I don't know. I just think that it's kind of a meh story. Because Ms. Marvel is actually a Disney prototype, not even like a fully engrossed MCU character. The only place that Ms. Marvel even exists was in that one Disney presentation, a series, and then got pulled into a movie with, I don't think, any underpinnings that made it worthwhile. So, and there was no Rambeau was a support character, just barely touched in the MCU, and then of course Captain Marvel is the Brie Larson, just is a commanding presence because people really love Brie Larson. So I don't know. It seemed like a kind of meh character even in the MCU. So I don't think that I'll get any hate about it. So why the Marvel's box office is so low for the MCU? They talk about it. The Marvel suffered because it was shot during COVID, before suggesting that there wasn't enough supervision on set from executives. That's the Bob Iger comment. And then they talk about the SAG-AFTRA strike, writer strike.
I think this is Ghostbusters all over again.
Really?
It's an all-female cast. The original cast in this universe is mainly male actors, just like Ghostbusters.
Right.
I don't think it's appealing to the audience. I mean, I totally agree with the points you're making.
I don't know. I mean, like on TV, Supergirl is was super popular, not anymore. There's a lot of what, I forgot her name. Oh my gosh. There's been others that are female leads.
Oh, like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I mean, this all happens and it's popular. Well, Wonder Woman kind of wet the bed when they pushed it into this weird cat versus bird wing suit thing, whatever that train wreck was. And everybody just hug and the evil will go away. Storyline was so stupid, cash grab, that it was, I could feel somebody reaching into my back pocket like, hey, he's not going to go see the movie. Let's see if we can just take a couple bucks. That was so obvious. Well, anyway, you think that it might be this kind of like a misogyny thing, right? I mean, without calling it misogyny.
Yeah.
It's rising to that. Yeah, interesting take. Yeah. I mean, it definitely could be. I just don't think that the two, so this is Rambeau and this is Ms. Marvel. I don't think that those two amount to enough to pull people into paying $25 for a movie. It's just not enough. And Brie Larson is trading on her MCU past. So now we know exactly where the limit is. Follow-on movie of Captain Marvel is where it ends. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Smash or Trash, which is it's basically, hold on a second, something didn't happen. It's a channel that's designed to evaluate music in movies, primarily music, where we decide together as an audience, as consumers, is it a smash or is it a smash hit, or should we trash it? Smash or trash. So Spotify is about to lay off 1/6 of its workforce, about 1,500 jobs, maybe more. This actually started taking place today, apparently. The article's over at pitchfork.com. So Merry Christmas to 1,500 people. You are going to get some free time. You work your ass off to make a company successful. You get paid for it. And there's a lot of people out there that have said to me, well, you get paid to do a job. You don't get paid to live there forever, Well, yeah, but it should amount to more than...
Don't come in tomorrow.
via a freaking Zoom meeting. Jasmine Rowe, which is a perfect name for somebody that works at pitchfork.com, put the article together, and the deck statement says after a period of aggressive spending, the streaming giant will cut some 1,500 jobs. By the way, Spotify has like record profits right now. So they're firing
Well,
people.
which is very interesting, right? So they shouldn't need to fire people.
Yeah. So Spotify will lay off about 1,500 employees, or 1/6 of its workforce, to downsize after a period of aggressive spending on podcasts and audiobooks, the company announced this morning, December 4th. The latest round of cuts is the third of the year, as the company fails to curb a pattern of financial losses amounting to hundreds of millions of dollars annually, as the New York Times reports. But I've read that they actually were profitable. They have made some good profits. The move follows some 800 job cuts earlier this year, part of a strategy that Daniel Ek described in a statement as preparing for our next phase, where being lean is not just an option but a necessity, because you got to keep that profit high enough so that you can pay investors above what they would normally get, because you got to do 10% growth, bitches, otherwise we start firing you. Anyway, the bump had leveled to roughly 7% by the afternoon. That's the shares jumped about 10% in early trading and then leveled to 7. The share price has more than doubled this year, restoring some value lost since its peak in early 2021. You see how you fire 1,500 people plus, a bunch of people say, oh, look, they're going to extend their runway, let's buy their stock. Then they do institutional investing in manipulations where they buy their stock back, then they release it again. It's the ebb and flow. There was a time where the stock, at least in my, see, I went to business school. I was studying finance. I didn't like what happens behind boardroom doors. And so I bowed out. But nowadays, it's concentration of wealth. It isn't developing a product or a service and selling that product or service. It's always now a manipulation of the stock so that they can trade on the stock again and again and again by doing investing within themselves. So, as it seeks new cost-cutting methods, Spotify faces continued criticism of its payout model, including a recent announcement that it would eliminate payouts for songs with less than 1,000 streams. I don't know how that's even possible, because they're using somebody's product without compensating them.
Exactly. That's like allowing somebody to steal 1,000 records or whatever. Oh, nope, you don't have to pay for those.
Yeah.
Only at 1,001.
Yeah, if every song is 99 cents to purchase, that's 1,000 streams. That's $1,000.
Right, and that's, I mean, that goes into the thing about the artists that can't make it, right? Because they can't make enough to support themselves, exactly because of things like this.
And changing the terms is what really pisses me off. Like, I know going into streaming over on YouTube that I'm not going to be part of the partner program, just like Twitch. I'm not part of the partner program. I'm not even an affiliate because I haven't gotten, 3 people to reliably hang out in the chat for an hour, random, not even a random time. I mean, I need people to come and hang out and chat so I can be affiliate. But I feel like I went in knowing the terms, just like on YouTube. I went in knowing the terms. They've changed their terms as well, but I knew going in that I had to meet a certain metric. These guys are like, we've decided that we're going to save some money by not paying people who are posting their music or allowing us to stream our music. And this is just beyond the pale. I mean, it's just so wrong. Last week, Weird Al Yankovic recorded a Spotify Wrapped video mocking the meager payouts, joking that his 80 million streams had earned him enough for a nice sandwich at a restaurant.
Okay, that's kind of funny. I
brutal.
was reading another article today about one of these companies that had done mass layoffs, and it was reporting that the person who worked there found out they didn't have the job anymore when they tried to like log into their work account, and it wasn't working. That was
Yep.
their first sign that, oh, they were no longer an employee, which that's a whole nother discussion. But
The first thing that is always done at a employment site is they cut off digital access. So you can't get through the front door without your card, which means that you can't get through the front door. You can't get your mail, it gets turned off. That way you can't send anything malicious, you can't harm the company, etc., etc. All of this is done, by the way, days or weeks in advance. So people inside know that the guillotine is falling. And so
what a way to treat people. I don't get it.
yeah, I don't get it either. So, and I don't know. I can't get into it. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. Toyota unveils 2 EV crossover concepts arriving by 2025. I don't think either of these are actually going to hit the showroom floor. Why? Because I think Toyota and other manufacturers are pulling away from EVs because more and more information is coming out about lack of support, infrastructure, manufacturing, and consumers are stressed about what do they call it? Charging anxiety or range anxiety.
Oh, yes.
So let's go over to the source of this. Will Shanklin over at Engadget.com put the article together. And let me throw this into the chat. There we go. So Will Shanklin put this article together. They're a contributing reporter. The automaker also detailed its battery goals for 2026 and beyond. So Toyota said Monday that it plans to expand its European lineup of battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, which is basically EVs, to 6 models by 2026. The automaker revealed 2 new concepts for its upcoming EV fleet, including a close-to-production urban SUV and a sport crossover scheduled for a 2025 European launch. Toyota, which Reuters notes is the world's largest automaker by sales, currently sells only 1 fully electric model, the BZ4X. So why are they talking about it being 6? When they're only talking about a close to production urban SUV and a sport crossover for Europe, and they only have 1.
I see what you mean. I mean, maybe, are they really going to release that many in 2026 beyond that?
Yeah, I guess that they want to expand
like maybe there's
it to,
a little batch in 2025 and then a larger batch in 2026.
I guess, but that's only 2 years away. 2024
I know.
is
I mean, I think this is very
aggressive.
aggressive. Thank you.
Yeah, or dreamy.
Yes, speculative.
Ambitious.
Yeah, ambitious. That was what I was looking for.
The
We'll get
EV equivalent of a stroke. So now, don't get me wrong about something about this Toyota BZ4X. It is a sexy car. I like the BZ4X. So these are the 2 that they are saying: a sport crossover left and urban SUV on the right. They basically
look better in the picture of the bug, I think.
Up there.
Yeah, I like that one. I guess it's the sport one.
I think
I don't know which one
these
it
are
is.
both. These are
No.
both the sport. It says
Oh,
Toyota
they look
Sports
like different
Crossover
cars.
and Urban SUV Concepts. Unless that one is the SUV and that's the sport. Yeah, maybe. No, this looks like the Urban SUV. Obviously these are renders. These are not the legit anything.
Right.
But so, by the way, I don't think that they're tremendously different than the BZ4X. Anyway, I think that they've got a problem with battery technology. It just doesn't rise to the level of ICE engines. So, while there's this massive hype for the Cybertruck, which they compared a bunch of stuff. There's like a video of the Cybertruck towing a Porsche 911, racing a Porsche 911, and the Cybertruck beat the Porsche 911. And then I'm like looking at this going, well, what were the specs of the 911?
Exactly.
Because the one that they were using to race was the beast mode version of the Cybertruck, which is over $100,000 MSRP predicted. We don't know what the absolute real price of that particular model is, but it's a $100,000 car. So
right, and a Porsche is expensive, but not that expensive.
It's not a $100,000 car. I haven't pulled up the thing, but I'm sure you can get it boosted to that. But anyway, I have a problem with, they want to get these batteries to a point. It says, with its solid state cells, the automaker's goal is a charging time of 10 to 80% in only 10 minutes. Okay, 10 to 80% in 10 minutes. That is that's twice as long as me getting a full tank of gas, getting in, filling my car from 0 to full tank, and driving away. And I could go in and get a cup of coffee in 10 minutes. Give me a break. This is not ready for prime time. It's still not ready. Now, do I endorse this and encourage this? Yes. Sure, early adopters, go for it. But the developers of these EVs need to realize that the tech isn't there. Not for in-place, in-situ battery charging. We need the infrastructure to charge a fast charging battery swap system. Just like we have gas tanks, we need battery swap tanks.
Well, and all these timeframes, I think, are based on plans for battery plants and other things that we keep seeing in the news are delayed, canceled, pushed back by several years. I don't see this 3 or 4 years away.
No.
Like 10, maybe.
Yep. And that's a different article. Yeah, that was a very interesting article. Anyway, okay, so let's keep going. There's only so much that I can say about this. This next article is to let everybody know that we all, and not me, because I didn't use 23andMe. I was on the precipice of doing this, and I backed away because I kept feeling really weird about 23andMe. And because of what I do for a living, I was like, do I want to risk this? And well, lo and behold, we all have a new connection. Some of us actually might be connected and we don't even know it. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about it another time, but let me get into this article. There's the link in chat. So the article is over at techcrunch.com. Lorenzo Franceschi Bicchieri, I guess, or Bicchieri. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Lorenzo, let me know either by email or in a chat message or some way. Send a carrier pigeon how to phonetically pronounce your name, and I will not make the mistake again. Anyway, so just to let you all know, we are all related because we've been hacked by 23andMe. So 23andMe had a data breach. Hackers stole data on 6.9 million users' ancestry data. So one thing that we all have in common now, at least the 6.9 million people who use 23andMe, you all are connected by a security breach. So as it turns out, there were a lot of other users who were victims of the data breach. 6.9 million affected individuals in total. In an email sent to TechCrunch late on Saturday, 23andMe spokesperson Katie Watson confirmed that hackers accessed the personal information of about 5.5 million people who opted into 23andMe's DNA relatives feature which allows customers to automatically share some of their data with others. The data stolen included the person's name, birth date, relationship labels, the percentage of DNA shared with relatives, ancestry reports, and self-reported location. They also confirmed that another group of 1.4 million people, so we're at 6.9 million people, who opted into the DNA relatives also had their family tree profile information accessed, which includes the display names, relationship labels, birth year, self-reported
Probably maiden name,
location,
mother's maiden name.
everything. And whether the user decided to share their information, the spokesperson said. So they declared part of its email as on background, which requires both parties to agree to the terms in advance. So TechCrunch is printing the reply as we were given no opportunity to reject the terms. So this is something that they put into their article. So yeah. In early October, a hacker claimed to have stolen DNA information of 23andMe users in a post on a well-known hacking forum. As proof of the breach, the hacker published the alleged data of 1 million users of Jewish Ashkenazi descent and 100,000 Chinese users, asking would-be buyers for $1 to $10 for the data per individual account. That's pretty expensive. So, pretty amazing. 2 weeks later, the same hacker advertised the alleged records of another 4 million on the same hacking forum. So,
and then there was one even previous to that. I think it was like 2 million people.
Oh, really?
That wasn't even known.
There's more in here, but yeah, 2 months before there was another one of a batch, but it doesn't say exactly how many.
I'm sorry. I don't know where I got that number from.
Yeah, I think it's because you saw that right there, 23andMe.
Yeah.
I was scrolling at the time, so sorry about that.
That became 2 million.
Yeah. So, TechCrunch kind of references that maybe it's months old or whatever, but to me, it doesn't matter. This is the personally identifiable ancestral data of 6.9 million users that believed that their data was going to be secure at 23andMe. And it's the reason why I believe that people really need to be aware that privacy is on its way to being removed. And there are people that are enriching themselves off of the mantra that privacy is dead. People like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, etc. They benefit from having a massive amount of privacy for their own shenanigans, but screw everybody else. But we're building that beast. We're enabling all of this because y'all are out there divulging information as if you've just split open an artery and you're just spraying it all over the place. So if you were worried about your privacy, stop.
Yeah, there's a pretty easy way to not have to worry about privacy.
Yep.
Don't put your data out there.
Yeah. Oh, I think that you can survive without 23andMe. Next week, I'll probably apply for 23andMe. Anyway, the next article's over in...
the breach already happened. Now's
That's
the
right.
time to do it.
More secure than ever, maybe. The next article's over in ohmTown Daily. I'm going to grab this URL and throw it into chat real quick. If creators suing AI companies over copyright win, it will further entrench big tech. There's been this weird idea lately. This is an article that's over... let me just go straight on over to the source. It's over at TechDirt. Mike Masnick is the author. The little snippet that we have is the first few lines of the article itself. There's been this weird idea lately, even among people who used to recognize that copyright only empowers the largest gatekeepers that in the world of AI. We have to magically flip the script on copyright and use it as a tool to get AI companies to pay for the material they train on, but as we've explained repeatedly, that would be a huge mistake. Even if people are concerned about how AI works, copyright is not the right tool to use here, and the risk of it being used to destroy all sorts of important and useful tools is quite high, ignoring Elon Musk's prediction that digital God will be obsolete. all of this. So the article continues on talking about the nature of copyright is such that it is most powerful when a few large entities act as central repositories for the copyrights and can lord around their power and try to... That might be all said and done a perception thing, because everybody benefits from copyright. If I publish a picture somewhere and I send it into the US Copyright Office, and even if I don't, the moment that I embody some work, written, etc., a photograph, whatever it might be, there's a copyright in place. All of that, every copyright, big business or small business, the only thing that really stops copyright abuse is enforcement of your right. So you can sit there.
You have to go after it.
You have to go and protect it. Yep. So I literally tell people, if you don't have the money to sit there and protect your copyright, getting a copyright doesn't do jack. Just like a patent. Just because you have a patent doesn't mean anything, because you have to have the coffers to go out and chase people down and say, you got to stop using my copyright. You have to stop using my copyrighted work. You have to stop using my trademark. You have to stop using my patented material. Nothing stops a person who... I'll use another anecdote. Criminals aren't criminal because they follow the rules.
What?
Criminals aren't criminals because they have a strong moral compass.
You don't say.
So if somebody doesn't give a crap about your patent, trademark, or copyright, they're gonna use it. Hell, some of them might use it and say that it's an original. And so it transcends even the civil violation of copyright, patent, trademark, becomes criminal because it's fraud. Anyway, they say this is why the author, Mike Masnick, and they say we. So I don't know who the we is that they're talking about, but apparently there's a plurality of people that are in this we. This is why we've said all along that AI training will never fit neatly into a licensing regime. The almost certain outcome, because it's what happens every other time a similar situation arises, is that there will be one, possibly two giant entities who get to designate as the collection society with whom AI companies will have to negotiate or just purchase a training license, and that entity will collect a ton of money, i.e., everything going on with NVIDIA versus everybody else. Everybody that's trying to spin up their own AI, but everything is really either Midjourney for graphics or OpenAI for ChatGPT related agents. There's a whole spectrum of other ones, but really everybody is paying for Midjourney and OpenAI. Nobody else is paying for anything anywhere, really. Anyway, but given the enormity of the amount of content and the structure of this kind of thing, the cost will be extremely high for the AI companies. A few pennies for every creator online can add up in aggregate, meaning that only the biggest of the tech will be able to afford it. My problem here is that I think that AI, large language models, they aggregate the information, and then it becomes ephemeral, twisted and mutated into something other than the verbatim data that it was trained on. So I have no problem with it. Now people will probably sit there and go, well, that's because you're probably benefiting from it. Yeah, maybe, I suppose. I think I have massive respect for creators. I am pretty vociferous about the fact that I give credit where credit is due, and I demand that the people that I work with give credit where credit is due.
And if you consume any works of any kind, you're benefiting.
Yeah, and you're being influenced by it.
Because those works couldn't be created without the copyright.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you at the end of the day, if creators are suing AI companies over copyright, essentially what's gonna to me, the same embodiment is I read a book, I get inspiration from the book, I create something that might be similar to that book because I was inspired by it. This has actually happened. Stephen King's Dark Tower series is entirely based off of the inspiration drawn from a poem, and he's very forthcoming about it. He's gotten inspiration from other things as well, other writings. Yet, people hero worship Stephen King. And Stephen King has spoken about AI. I can't remember what he actually said about it now, but my point is we all get inspiration from somewhere, and the AI is nothing more than a tool. It's the calculator of creativity, and it's steered. The numbers are punched in by humans. It does not just create stuff on its own. The AI would do nothing if not instructed to do X, Y, and Z. So I think we need to get over copyright as it pertains to an AI being trained on data, because it isn't spitting out verbatim. And if it is, address that.
Well, that's true. You don't have to shut down everything because somebody's violating something.
Right. Shut down the violation. But like I've already described this, once it's integrated into the LLM, it's largely just data. If it's retrained and that original is verbatim still stored somewhere, illegally acquired and stored somewhere, then so be it. Have that data purged, and then the AI would retrain. It can be exfiltrated from the system, but it's tougher because once it's trained, it's no longer verbatim data. It's just creative juices that get turned into something. It's an algorithm. Anyway, let's keep going. Maybe not. Here we go. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Child pneumonia cases emerge in Europe as China battles wave of respiratory illness that they can't really explain. I'm going to go over to the Telegraph. That's where this is actually aggregated from, telegraph.co.uk. Let me grab... See, the aggregator did not grab any actual content. It's just linking to it, and that's how they provide it. Telegraph provides it. So Ireland and France, among several countries, to record sharp rise in mycoplasma pneumonia. And this is hitting children especially hard. Maeve Cullinan, is the author of this. And it just says here that a rise in mycoplasma pneumonia, the bacteria that causes the infection, has been reported in Ireland, France, the Netherlands, Denmark, China. And my understanding is that there are cases here in the United States now too. I don't remember if it's Ohio or Utah.
It is Ohio.
And so this is something that the AI and I have discussed, and this is the same time frame for the launch of... Oh, by the way, I'm really worried about something. I think that child might be possessed.
Why is that? Because
their feet aren't touching the ground, but they're floating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's supernatural being... It's Ms. Marvel. Anyway, obviously they're jumping in it. It's a still picture.
It's an odd picture, though.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my God, she's flying. Anyway, meanwhile, the Netherlands has seen a 124% increase compared to last year's peak. China is saying that it's not even a blip and they can handle it, yet we've also heard reports that they can't handle it, that it's already requiring them to spin up clinics that are being overwhelmed by the number of ill patients. The illness came into the spotlight last week when the WHO made, not the band, the WHO made an official request to China for more information about reports of undiagnosed pneumonia in children's hospitals in Beijing, Liaoning, and other locations. Or it might be Liaoning, I'm not sure. Anyway, Chinese authorities have said that there's no evidence of any new... No, it's nothing. Wash your hands. It's the flu. You don't need a mask or a vaccine. There you go, wingnuts. Start warming up your mental gymnastic machine. So, the AI and I never finished my sentence. Basically, we have come to the conclusion that this is the same course that COVID-19 started from, except that we're hearing about it sooner because people have been putting their ear to the ground and listening for this noise. And then
and now there are some more health databases that are publicly accessible, etc.
Right. Yep. People are talking about it. It's high on the list of monitoring. And then you hear about it from people that are in the know that would normally not say anything to you. Like I know people that are in the medical field and they're like, hey, have you been talking about this pneumonia thing? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, yeah, I would probably start paying attention to this. And I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So, and we've already called this out. Like the moment we heard that there's an unexplained, undiagnosed pneumonia, that is COVID. COVID causes pneumonia.
Exactly. That was one of the biggest causes of death from the early days of COVID-19.
Yep. And people still poo-poo this. Millions of people have perished because of this ignorance. Anyway.
I think COVID-19 was the 6th largest pandemic in the world history since it's been recorded.
Really?
I was just talking with someone about those stats. I think that was the number.
The 6th?
I think
so the Black Plague was like number one?
That was exactly. And then I've forgotten now where the...
Spanish flu?
Probably so.
Spanish flu and COVID-19 are basically the same thing. And people attribute Spanish flu to Spain, but that's not the case. Spanish flu was actually called Spanish flu because Spain was the only one that was reporting it reliably. And everybody's like attributing it to Spain. And I refer to COVID-19 as the bad bat pandemic, where somebody should have smacked that bad bat out of somebody's mouth from that wet market in China. I mean, it's literally across the street from the Wuhan virology research lab, for crying out loud. Of course it came out of there.
Oh, I had forgotten. So HIV AIDS
Gotcha.
/ AIDS was, I think, the largest, at least in modern times.
Wow.
Well, the information that I'm looking at is not real.
That's still not stamped out. That's still like a managed illness, right? I don't know.
It is now, but it wasn't in the early days. It killed flourished. 36 million people.
Yeah. Because it was such a complex, misunderstood.
Right, and they didn't have a cure or treatment, etc.
Now, I think you still have to take like a cocktail of drugs. I think. I don't know. Maybe they've reduced it down to just one pill. But anyway, that's a different topic. Right now, we need to worry and pay attention to... We need to worry about and pay attention to child pneumonia cases that are emerging all around the planet. All because we're not locking down this right now and taking precautions. People need to mask up. People need to protect their kids. Man, when a sneeze makes you flinch, and I've got stuff going on. Oh no. Anyway, let's keep going. I'm gonna be bubble mayor. So the next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel.
Maybe
Bank
that could be on the
accidentally.
Patreon. Like you show up in your bubble attire.
Yeah, really. I'm going to be rolling into an airport. So the next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Bank accidentally deposits $86 million into a woman's account and then freezes her assets. You know how cold it is outside right now? I froze my assets off when I went outside. Anyway, the incident occurred at the Malaysian bank, Maybank. Very
Should be
creative.
named Cannot Bank.
Or wait, what's the one? What's the bank where they say that it messes up they mess your money up so bad, so they named. Oh man, I can't remember.
Is it the one with the acronym or?
Yeah, it's the one that's spun around.
Nimio?
The word Nimio. Yeah. The joke that somebody said about Nimio was that their catchphrase was, "We mess your money up so much we named our bank after it." Nimio. Anyway, this one bank mistake is one that no one wants reversed. A Malaysian woman named Hafidza Abdullah is going viral after revealing that her bank accidentally deposited 400 million MNR, which is the Malaysian dollar, basically the currency. I don't know what it actually is called, but anyway, roughly equivalent to $86 million. And they posted it in a LinkedIn post. Apparently, the amount was so large the system glitched. Her bank account was frozen. Apparently, this goes on to say that the personal bank account got blocked. The company account is unusable. And visiting Maybank has become their daily new exercise routine. So many joke that the incident gave the ever-dreaded 404 error a whole different meaning because 404 is file not found and it's 400-0404-0404. I love it. That might actually be there might be an actual problem. Like it wasn't intentional, but the transaction caused a glitch that deposited 404 over and over again.
That could have been it. What's also interesting is their currency is not MNR, it's MYR.
Oh, maybe that's a typo then. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. That's all that there is for this article, really. I think it's funny though, because Maybank is the final statement in this article is Maybank is the fourth biggest bank in Southeast Asia. The bank was down over 44% year over year as of Monday afternoon. If you own stock in this bank, I would probably start 404ing my way out of there. Let's go to the last article for tonight. It's over in Hatch Ideas. She lost her job as a disinformation scholar at Harvard and claims Facebook may have had something to do with it. I always peel back the layers of the onion when there are claims like this. And sure enough, there's one that's pretty obvious. A layer here that kind of solves this problem. But another layer underneath it makes me wonder what else. Maybe, I don't know. So Sam Silverman over at entrepreneur.com put the article together. The deck statement says Dr. Joan Donovan alleges Harvard stopped her research after receiving donations from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is the Zuckerberg and his wife fund. Harvard denies the claim. Here's a picture of Dr. Joan Donovan going, you fired me. And and when you read about this, you go, oh, okay. Yeah, at first blush, you're like, oh, alumni Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan led to her termination because they donated a bunch of money. And one of the things that Donovan was part of was whistleblower declaration made. Previously there was another initiative that Donovan was a part of that had to do with whistleblowing and disclosures. In the whistleblower declaration made public on Monday, Donovan claims her studies on media manipulation campaigns were restricted following a $500 million donation from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to fund an artificial intelligence center in 2021. From that very day forward, they were treated differently by the university to the point where they lost their job, Donovan told The Logic. So Entrepreneur picked this up, and we're talking about it here in ohmTown Daily. The disclosure was sent on Donovan's behalf to Harvard and the U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona by Whistleblower Aid last week, and that's part of something that Donovan is part of. So Donovan is regarded as one of the world's leading social media disinformation experts. In 2021, she testified before the House and Senate subcommittees about misinformation and social media. Wonderful, right? Remember here the name, Dr. Joan Donovan.
Okay.
So I'm like, this is really interesting. Why would a $500 million donation immediately lead to somebody's ouster? And so you scroll a little bit further down and you find out Donovan claims that she was terminated in 2022 after Harvard shut down her research. She had worked at the university since 2018, running the Technology and Social Change Research Project for the Shorenstein Center at Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government. The name placard is 12 feet long.
Right. They needed to save money on painting it like Federal Express.
It's the FedEx. We have to come up with a term for this. It's like the rule of FedEx or something like that, or the FedEx dynamic. I don't know. We'll have to.
The FedEx philosophy.
Yeah, we'll have to spitball the name for it. We have to make it every time we talk about it longer and longer as well. So in a couple of years, it's so big that it's actually
it needs another FedEx rule or whatever.
That's right. It becomes recursive. So Harvard says straight out of the gate, no, you're wrong. What actually took place was you worked on a project and the professor that was responsible for that research project left and everybody else stayed, but your project ended. So you're just done. But they had tried to find another faculty member to take over interest and participate and continue the research. To which I said, she's a doctor and the preeminent expert on it.
You're right. Why was she only a staff member and not a faculty member?
Correct.
Particularly with a doctorate. I didn't
Correct.
Even pick up on that.
Why were they let go?
Yeah, I think there's something more to this.
Yeah, maybe the intermediary faculty member was the one that was the go-between between Joan Donovan and the rest of the institution, so that she was protected from the rest of the, and I've seen this in institutions before, where there's somebody that is a buffer that is able to communicate with both sides, and there isn't any abrasion, there isn't any friction. So when that all fell away and Joan Donovan had to interact immediately with administrative bodies, it became friction bound. And as much as a lot of people will sit there and go, well, it all shows as much about them as it does about that person because they didn't keep her on board. Well, you know, when you go into somebody else's house and you're an asshole and abrasive, you're going to get punted out and not asked to return. So maybe there's some bad blood there, or they didn't like the relationship, they didn't like the culture, they didn't like the character, I don't know, whatever it might be. But if Joan Donovan is basically claiming that the impetus for the closure is that donation, it's a pretty heady claim, but not supported by the evidence. That's so obvious to me that I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty simple.
Oh this is what I wanted to know. Like, I wanted to know when the donation was timed with any of her activity. And then there's another paragraph down here about that.
Yeah, the disclosure notes that Chan Zuckerberg donation came shortly after the 2021 Facebook papers whistleblower complaint from former Facebook employee Frances Haugen, I think is their name. Harvard made the papers public with the help of Donovan, who archived the documents for public research. Since Donovan's departure from Harvard, she announced in August that she's joining Boston University's College of Communication as an assistant professor. So she's bouncing into academia as a professor, but this kind of gives it credibility that the moment
it does.
And they moved the chains down the field slow enough so that it didn't come across like an immediate response to a $500 million cash infusion. I love a good conspiracy.
But can you imagine, like, on a Monday, whatever, there's the whistleblower complaint. On Tuesday, there's the donation or whatever. On Wednesday, this other faculty member suddenly leaves or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If it's something like that, it's looking like there's something there.
Yeah. So it says Joan Donovan was hired as staff member, not a faculty member, to manage a media manipulation project. When the original faculty leader of the project left Harvard. Now, why did they leave Harvard?
We don't know that information. They might have been told to leave or resign, or we're going to fire you, or whatever.
Yep. So that faculty leader left Harvard. Then the school tried for some time to identify another faculty member who had the time and interest to lead the project. Why wasn't Joan brought on? As she's got a PhD, she works in the field, she was in charge of the actual project. This is pretty typical, having a faculty member be the liaison between a research project and the school. It's pretty typical with like technology exchange programs where somebody's doing fundamental research at the institution, but they're not faculty. There's something hinky to it, honestly. So when you peel back the layers, this is the conclusion that I came to. When you peel back the layers, you go, oh, this is pretty easy. But then it makes you say, maybe there's something smoking. Maybe there's fire. So go get them, Joe. Good luck. Okay, well, that's it, folks. We are done for tonight. Dun, dun, dun. I would normally bring this back around and refresh the page, but I like this one. Man on Ozempic says food tastes different. It suddenly looks repulsive. That might be the real world manifestation of what happens with you biologically, because when you're on Ozempic, you don't want to eat anymore. Your appetite is suppressed dramatically, and so people have said that it does make food taste different, and that you just don't want to eat and you don't like it, and this is the most negative response that I've heard about food in relation to Ozempic.
Yeah, I just assumed it made you eat less, for example, but I didn't know that it impacted how food tastes
perceived.
Or is it appealing or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Okay, well, that's it, folks. We are done for tonight. So see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the visualizer for the sentient AI that's going to say, "What's up, No, I won't. See ya.
Not a strong chance of that.
You do you. Go.
Good night, hometown citizens. We will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. Bye-bye.
Hey, I just got an article that says, "What is toxic breadcrumbing?" Guess what's going to be on the show tomorrow?
I guess we'll have to do that tomorrow because I don't know what that is.
See you in a bit.
I'm afraid to know.
Bye-bye, everybody.